Why did you call yourself Ironward?
Uh, in the absence of better name. uh, Ironwood was best out of the all worst choices, but it was like, hey, we are tough, we are iron, we can endure anything, let's go with that.
Hey, this is Sarah.
Hey, this is Eve.
And we are already at episode 6 of our podcast, Open Indie. Who would have thought we would survive that long?
Me.
Phew, at least somebody. And for today, we managed to grab another indie developer as well.
Yeah, that's right. Today we talked to Hrvoje Horvatek. He's the founder and CEO of the indie development studio Ironward.
Ironman.
Ironward.
Okay.
They're from Croatia, my home country, and they are close to releasing their new strategy game called the Red Solstice 2 Survivors.
Both of us tried it out, the alpha version of the game. It's definitely fun, but also a bit complex.
Yeah, that's true. And since it's so complex, we did the only thing that's logical in a situation like this. We grabbed the guy who develops it and asked him how to play it.
Hrvoje, nice to have you on the show. Dobar dan.
Hello, nice to have you too. Dobar dan.
So today we're gonna talk about your indie development studio. We're also gonna talk a bit about how it is to develop games in Croatia, and we're of course also gonna talk about your new upcoming game, the Red Solstice 2 Survivors. But before we dive in, I have two casual questions for you, just as a quick warm-up.
Okay, sure.
Hrvoje, what was the first game you've ever played?
The first game. That's a tough one. I don't actually remember. It was back on Commodore. I think, one of the first games that I remember that I've played is where you were searching for diamonds. It was one of the games where you were digging through tunnels and searching for diamonds. It's one really old game, like pixel game.
Okay.
I don't remember Caveman or something like that. I don't remember the exact name of the game. I know it was extremely fun, and you were like searching for diamonds, and then rocks were falling on top of you, and you needed to eat the right way of dirt so the rocks does not kill you while you were completing the level. It was pretty fun at that part.
Yeah, that sounds funny, but I don't know which game that could be.
I was searching for it a few years ago because I wanted to remember, but yeah, I couldn't find it. It's a really, really old game.
Okay, crazy. And what was the last game you've played from start to finish?
From start to finish.
So completely through.
Oof, I don't remember that also. I try to finish all my games, but since I'm doing game design, I often start a game, then I don't just finish them. I think maybe Witcher.
Okay.
Witcher 3. That might be something that I've played. Yeah, let's leave it like that.
How many hours did you play The Witcher?
Oh, yeah, I fully finished that. I really liked the game, so tried to get all the quests and everything. So I think it was over 100 hours or something.
Yeah. I think that's the normal time for The Witcher. Yeah.
I played both the normal, and then I played the new game plus also. So that was.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you really must have liked the game.
Yeah, it's Slavic mythology, so you're close to it, and it's really nice.
Sure, yeah, understandable. Cool. So let's dive into your new upcoming game, the Red Solstice 2 Survivors, which will be released on the 17th of June, 2021. At the time we're doing this recording, it's about to release in approximately 2 weeks. What is it about?
So, Red Solstice 2 is a real-time tactical battlefield, up to 8 players. And that's how many people you can play with. But the game is about humanity trying to survive on Mars while being attacked by various mutations and virus, and you have to fight it. And it's about survival, basically. Survival with the best possible outcome in the worst possible situation. You're trying to get out alive, basically. And you're using your friends in order to do that.
Okay, so you have to shoot, but you also have to loot.
Yeah, shooting, looting, but it is included also, you have to think a lot. It's not like simple, hey, you go there, you just shoot and you get out. It's like you have to think what you do, when you do it, and why you want to do it. It's more about prolonged game where you're being rewarded for thinking properly and in the right direction. So if you pre-plan your actions, pre-plan your strategy, think about how you want to approach the situations, you'll get much more out of the game itself, and it'll be much more enjoyable than just trying to approach it, hey, I'm going to go and shoot monsters and see what happens, you know?
Okay. And you also definitely have to work as a team, I guess, yeah?
Yeah, it's the game is designed around 8 players, but it also can be played in solo and single player. We are pretty proud what we've done there. So it's like it has a lot of interaction, and we are trying to emphasize that a lot. So the people have interaction, and that basically your choices matter. And even if there are like 8 people in the game, like we're playing with the other 7 people, your actions still matter. That's something that's really important to us, that it's not like you're one of the many, but you're one of the team that really contributes to the what's happening on the screen, you know.
Okay. Yeah, the gameplay is something I really had to get used to. You gave us the alpha version of your game so we could test it for a while. It reminded me a bit of XCOM at first. Just harder. I also had to get used to the controls, really.
Yes, I mean, we are still tweaking the balancing and difficulty, but yeah, XCOM was one of the things that we looked into as where we were designing the strategy layer, because Red Solstice 1 didn't have that, and we always wanted to, even on Red Solstice 1, but it wasn't the thing back at the time, and we didn't have time, nor resources, nor anything. But this gave us ability to, if Red Solstice 1, for example, was one mission that you replayed over and over and over, Red Solstice 2 is many different missions that you are replaying, I mean not replaying, playing with a different context, all put out and naturally connected through the strategy layer, which enables you that your actions really matter from one mission to another, to, I don't know, researching the right stuff, deploying on the right missions, maybe ignoring some missions. And all of that ties into the campaign, which basically can give you positive or negative results based on your actions, basically. And this is where it fits really nicely. At least I think we managed to succeed at that. So yeah, we can say that it has some elements from XCOM, and the strategy layer really contributed to that feeling of like fighting to save the planet.
Is it also a bit roguelike? Because there are also randomly generated levels and I think permadeath as well, yeah?
Yes, we have some sort of permadeath, but basically you have your little soldiers. We can describe the game in 2 things, basically. One is approach from the campaign, and another is approach from the skirmish mode. Campaign is where you basically recruit your followers and you basically level them up, equip them, but they can die in the combat. So if you basically fail a mission, or if they die and you don't evacuate them, or if they get too many injuries in the field, they can permanently die, which means that your guy who maybe you spent hours training might die. So you must basically take care of them and not let them die too soon, or like try to level them up. And so yes, it has some roguelike elements. You can also train new ones or rescue the old ones or get heroes like that. That's regarding the campaign. And in skirmish, basically every player can die, but they can also be revived an infinite amount of time. But if the team is not doing well, they will keep dying, and eventually if the entire team is dead, you will get basically a game over. And then you have to restart the match from again in the skirmish mode, which is basically a co-op multiplayer mode only designed for that.
Okay, so you have to start the mission all over again in skirmish.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
How's the development going? What's still left to do?
Well, we are mostly doing fixing some bugs, of course. Of course, there's always some bugs to fix. But we are basically what I'm doing a lot right now is trying to get the right balance between and the feeling of those missions, like the amount of resources that you get, so that the player always gets rewarded. And what's most importantly, like one of the problems that I wouldn't say it's a problem, but it makes the game more interesting if you have reason to explore once you go on a mission. So like this is something that I'm currently, for example, doing. Like you get those supplies that maybe you can pick up to get a bigger mission reward and so on. Basically something that drives you, hey, you just landed on a huge map, you have one primary mission to solve, and yeah, you can go there, but hey, maybe there is something nice in that building next to you. Let's go and explore it, and maybe you find something very cool for that mission. Maybe that mission will be easier then. Maybe the next mission will be easier because you looted that building and gathered some supplies. So this is, for example, something that I'm trying to balance now and trying to work on to get the best feeling for the player. And another thing that's really important for us that we're working on is to try to ease in the new player, the new learning experience. So like you mentioned, the controls are a problem. So we have written some tutorials and are trying to make the game more streamlined. So when a new player arrives, so he understands what he needs to do, why he needs to do it, and where he needs to do it, basically.
I also read a few previews, and the reviewers overall they said they really liked the style and the setting, which I agree. I really like to dive into the setting. They also wished for more cutscenes so they could understand what the story is about, and they all weren't sure about long-term motivation. Did you hear about these comments?
Yes, basically the preview build didn't include any cutscenes because they weren't finished at that point. So we thought that if we would introduce the cutscenes at the beginning, which would explain what are you doing and why are you doing it as an executor, as the main character in the campaign, it would be lower quality, and we didn't want that perhaps by accident a lower quality cutscenes end up on the online YouTubes or something if it wanted to finish. We just wanted to control the environment. But there are definitely cutscenes in the game that explain the story of who you are, and player can also go into archives because as he is finishing the mission, every mission will have an archive recap so you can read in detail what has happened, what's your goal, and what you're actually doing. And you can read more about the world and basically who are the characters that you're interacting with, what they have done. We have also worked to explain what have characters done in the previous games. So basically, you know what was their role before. So all of these can be accessed through archives. And regarding the long-term commitment, are you referring to the why would you keep coming back to Red Solstice, or why would you keep coming back to the campaign in general? Because we have two different types of players.
Okay, I think they more looked at the campaign in general, I guess.
Okay, so regarding the campaign, basically, once you finish the campaign once, you might want to try to finish it on a higher difficulty, and then on a higher, and also and so on, because each of the difficulty has different challenges that you get, and campaign is not. Campaign is procedurally generated, so each time you play it, it will be different. Sometimes you get a mission in the snow area, and then you'll get the same mission in the swamp area, or maybe somewhere in the mountains, or in a mining colony. And this kind of changed the mission, because each time you land also the mission and the setting in that mission, the map will be procedurally generated, so no mission will ever be the same. Of course, some campaign missions must be the same, because they're there for the storytelling and narrative. But we try to make as much as possible missions different and unique, so basically when you go down to the field, it's really different, and then you can invite your friends into the campaign and you can play the campaign together, but it's still a different, and every time you play it, it's a different mission. Maybe it's the same mission with a different context in a map or maybe situation, and basically then you have to adapt to the environment, see what you want to bring. Maybe sometimes you'll end up on a campaign mission which has, I don't know, level 0 storm, so it'll be much easier. Maybe sometimes you'll have no choice but to go on a mission with highest infestation and a high storm level. And then you'll have to think of how to approach that mission. Or maybe just wait it out until the storm passes, or until you lower the infestation of that mission to minimum, and then just breeze on through it.
Okay.
So there are choices. Choices are important to us.
All right. So yeah, there's a lot to think about, yeah. One thing I noticed is when I was in this tutorial level, I had to defend an area. At one point, and just hordes of enemies coming towards me. And then there is this Overwatch mode, like in XCOM, where your character is just shooting automatically. And I switched to that when these hordes were coming towards me. And I had the feeling there was no problem for me just to just stand there for a few minutes and survive, because my character was doing all the work. And before you also said that you're still working on balance or something. So I don't know if I was doing something wrong, because that was, it seemed to me very easy, or if that was a bug at the time.
Actually, it's not a bug. Overwatch is there for a purpose, and basically, since it's a tutorial, what we learned that if you push too much to the player, he will just die and might get frustrated. But the thing about Overwatch is you have to carefully balance. Like, personally, I play 50% manual aim, 50% Overwatch. Depends on which class I play, how I play it, and so on. Overwatch has its limits. First of all, it reduces your maximum energy, which basically reduces your capability to use skills, which means it will work well for lower threats. But if some bigger threats arrive, Overwatch might not prioritize it, and the bigger threat will obviously kill you if you don't use skills to defeat it, for example.
Okay.
And manual mode is better for if you want to focus, maybe hold position and focus on a certain monsters and maybe move more slowly. and maybe target and choose which target you want to hit, because you get additional bonuses and damage as you're using manual and personal targeting mode. So each mode is like, it's based on the player type also. I know players that only use manual aim, they hate Overwatch. And I know players that only play with Overwatch, even with all the penalties that it have. They're like they just want to play passive builds, and like they just don't want to use any skills. They put all the passive skills, then they click on Overwatch, and that's extremely fun for them. Yes, they're limited in some situations because not weapon has each Overwatch retargeting time. For example, like one of the biggest minuses that I would say about Overwatch is, other than draining its energy, I mean, reducing your maximum energy, is that it has a delay between retargeting each target. So it might be fine while you're surrounded by 3 or 4 players, maybe using Overwatch and you're in a lower threats. But if you're alone and you're using Overwatch to defend against the bigger horde, you will surely fail, because your Overwatch will slowly retarget the enemies, which will not be enough. But if you're using manual with the same weapon, you will be able to gun down those enemies pretty much easier. So it's also a matter of context, how you use it or when you use it. It's really important that player decide and that it's his decision. Yes, I want to do that because I want to do something else, you know.
Okay, so you already did like 2 Red Solstices.
Yes.
Like
yes.
Red Solstice 1 came out 2015, where mankind had to find a new home on Mars. Was also 8-player co-op. And 2 years later, you released the Solstice Chronicles, MIA. I didn't quite understand the story. You're like a lonely guy on Mars with a drone?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, then I got it. So there was no co-op or...
It had a co-op, but it has 2 people co-op only, basically. Red Solstice 1 was basically... the story was one colony. Basically, the Red Solstice 1 was Outbreak on Mars. And Solstice Chronicles MIA was one guy lost in that exact colony where Red Solstice 1 happened. So at the middle of Solstice Chronicles MIA, you see basically the ending of Red Solstice 1. And then you basically continue your story forward. And basically Red Solstice 2 starts at the ending of Red Solstice 1. So it might be a bit confusing at first, but basically our Red Solstice 2 starts where Red Solstice 1 has ended, which means that the virus has spread from that initial colony which you tried to defend, and now you're defending the entire planet over many different colonies, over many different situations. And all the story characters, not all of them, but some of them will be reappearing in Red Solstice 2 also. So whoever played the games before, they will have a fun time.
Okay. So how would you say, what are the similarities and the differences between all those solstices?
All right. So Red Solstice 2 is obviously most similar with Red Solstice 1. So I'll start with the differences between Solstice Chronicles MIA and Red Solstice 2. Basically, Solstice Chronicles MIA was a pure twin-stick shooter, but there are some things that we learned and incorporated into Red Solstice 2, like some things from manual aiming and so on. But it's basically... Solstice Chronicles is a twin-stick shooter with some new ideas that we were experimenting with. Like basically you had that drone that you had to use in certain situations, and basically the drone helped you and so on. And some of the ideas we did incorporate into Red Solstice 2, but it's quite a different game basically. So it not much that we can actually compare, and it also had 2 people co-op. It didn't have online co-op because we couldn't implement it at that time. So yeah, there are quite some differences. It also had like 4 classes instead of initial 8 that were in the Red Solstice 1. And now, what's the differences between Red Solstice 2 and 1? Basically, like I mentioned before, but Red Solstice 1 is like you have a linear campaign which is not procedurally generated, and then you have those 10 missions. You go bam, 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 one over and over, and it cannot be played in co-op. I mean, it's cool, but it has those, I would say, something that is expected today from a co-op game. Red Solstice 1 doesn't have it. You cannot play campaign in co-op, and of course it's not procedurally generated, which always makes for a lot more replayability. Well, Red Solstice has procedurally generated campaign. We have a huge we have the strategy layer, which gives a lot more context. We have many missions, many colonies to defend, much more missions than Red Solstice 1, both in campaign and both in procedurally generated secondary missions, or critical strikes, which we call them. You go in, get supplies, and get out in the campaign. And basically, yeah, Red Solstice 2 is releasing, for example, with 6 classes instead of 8 for Red Solstice 1, but we are additionally releasing for free Hellfire and Terminator, which some of the fans from the community are extremely expecting. So we have planned those, but we just simply couldn't have time to polish them to the level that we wanted. So we are slightly delaying them, and they will be arriving for free later. So yeah, I mean, those are one of the let's say harder classes or more complicated classes, but but really have unique style of play.
Perfect. Terminator
So
sounds nice.
Yeah, it's always nice to like self-destruct and do stuff like that, which is which is really cool.
And Red Solstice 1 didn't focus so much on strategy, you said, right?
Yes, Red Solstice 1 didn't have strategy layer at all. You just had to, I don't know, from one mission to second in a campaign. You leveled up your followers, your basically squad that you used, their attributes, and that was it. I mean, it still had strategy controls and everything, but it didn't have that strategy layer where you were researching, building outposts, capturing regions, or lowering infestation. You didn't have all this layer, which gave you a significant and important decision. Hey, do I want to abandon this mission, or do I want to go on this mission? Or maybe, I don't know, maybe I just want to rescue those civilians, or maybe ignore rescuing those civilians. You have those decisions now, which basically help you in the long term. Red Solstice 1 was basically, you go on a mission, you play it, okay, I'm done now. The reason why people came back for Red Solstice 1 was, hey, I would get maybe slightly different waves, maybe different missions, and different situations, but the map would always stay the same. In Red Solstice 2, each time you play, you have the different map, different waves happen, different monsters arrive, different missions happen, different environments, different storms. Basically, a lot more things are changing and being procedurally generated for Red Solstice 2, basically.
Sounds nice. How different was the development back then? Are there any differences?
Oh, it was painful and extremely hard before. Now it's much more easier. Yes, basically because we made our own engine, and at that time, basically everybody in Croatia was making their own engines because there were no easy accessible engines at that time. So basically, if in Croatia it was like, hey, you didn't make your own engine, you're a bad game dev studio. So it was a thing back then.
Okay.
I mean, it's not literally like you're a bad game studio, but basically nobody had the money to pay for some like expensive more engines because Unreal wasn't open like it is today, for example. And today we are working on Unreal, which makes basically a lot of the process is much simpler. Our own engine before is just unmaintainable because technology is going forward so fast that you simply cannot. You would have to have an entire team just maintaining the engine, basically, and that's extremely expensive and inefficient. So yeah, we just at one point, which is also Chronicles MIA, we just moved to Unreal and started developing from there, which sped up a lot of the processes and help us make the better game ultimately in the end.
Okay. So in the beginning, you first had to develop your engine before developing the game, right?
Yes.
Okay. Oh my God.
It was like that. Yeah, I mean, we also, for Red Solstice 2, don't get me wrong, we also had to prepare a lot of the systems for now, but now iterating those systems is much easier than on Red Solstice 1, because Red Solstice 1 is a custom engine, and now we don't have that burden of maintaining your own engine. We still have to maintain the code and improve it and upgrade it, but we are not struggling with additional, 10 or 50 problems that we are facing every day with a custom engine,
Okay, yeah, I see.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the idea for the Red Solstice in the beginning?
Okay, so that was basically at that time that was 2008, maybe. Actually, yeah, I think it started 2006, but I didn't know it started back then. Basically, I was playing a lot of Warcraft 3, Night of the Dead map. I also made one of those maps and was helping. I helped create Night of the Dead Aftermath. I kept coming back to it, like I played it and I came back, and this kept me going for months, and then for a year, and basically it was a big community of Warcraft 3 back then. And at one point I decided, hey, there is like no game in the at all like that. Like, so I don't know, what do I want to do? Let's try to make a game. And then that's how it started. I created a small game for my college for the end, for the final exam, basically. And then we gathered and started basically working on something that in the end ended up calling Red Solstice. I knew exactly what I wanted, so I had the vision and I had the map that I created and basically that worked, and which is called Night of the Dead Special Ops, and people are still playing it today, which is cool. So that's how it all started.
Cool, gotta check it out.
It's very hard. It's extremely hard, man.
Oh God, okay.
But it was a fun experience because you had to think like how to approach the certain situations. You have to plan with your team, and that was extremely fun for me because every team member had like a role, and I did play like MMOs, but they were kind of boring for me, and this gave me a lot more adrenaline, I somehow, the feeling that really got into me from those maps, and I think we really made it nice into Red Solstice 1 and even Red Solstice 2. It's that emotion, like when you do something with your team, like with 7 other players, and like, I mean, every co-op game has it. I'm not saying it doesn't have. But something that I'm really proud is like if when you spend 1 hour struggling, surviving, working with your team members to get that nice crowned total victory at the end after 1 hour of game in a multiplayer, and everybody did their part, and you did your part, and basically you in the end you were running for 100 last meters to reach that dropship, and then you fly away into safety. Like those are the moments basically that makes Red Solstice, at least to me personally, so great, and that makes the team play like even greater. It's like everything is building up through the gameplay to get up to that one spot where everything just comes back down and gives you the game, tells you, hey, you did great.
Yeah, yeah. How successful were your games so far?
Red Solstice 1 was pretty successful. It was a great success for us at release, and basically we kept supporting it. Which was really good. We weren't sure what to expect because we worked hard for it, and basically I know the day when we released, we just continued working, and we had some bugs, and we were working on fixing those bugs, but it was a really great feeling, and basically, Red Solstice 1 was definitely a success for us.
Okay, how many players did you have?
Well, we had online players, let me see. Well, I know we sold around 10,000 copies in the first 48 hours and 24 hours, which is like for Indie Studio, for a few people, for us, that was like awesome and great,
Sure, yeah.
I don't know, we have, I think, over 1 million installed copies of Red Solstice now, So, yeah, that's...
wow, that's cool.
A lot of people, but the game basically, not many are playing it now. Because the game is old, but we had a few share of players that went through the game and played it. I cannot say that for Solstice Chronicles. That was not so successful, but one of the big thing is that we didn't have the online component, and all of our community expected, hey, you would make an online game, because our community is online focused. So that was one of the things. But at that time, we did the best we could, and with the resources that we had, and basically we wanted to try something new, experiment and see how it would go. It didn't work out, so yeah. We returned to Red Solstice 2, and so far, like, testers and everybody is saying they like what we did.
Yeah, cool. Going back to the roots.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your studio. How did Ironward start?
Well, we just gathered after my initial idea, and then we started working on Red Solstice, basically step by step. It took a few years for us together. Basically, we were just two at the beginning.
How did you find each other?
Basically friends, and then college, and then randomly. I would say randomly is the best thing. It just happened, It was actually a very weird story because I know when we started there was 2 of us programmers, and then I was thinking I was doing that back then. I was doing like programming. I was doing 3D. I was also doing animation. Another friend was doing only programming, the engine. Mm-hmm. And then I was thinking, hey, we could use a 3D artist. And then a few months later, hey, we got one 3D artist. Like, hey, he just arrived and he want to work with that. I mean, we did ask around, but it just somehow happened. Then after that, I was thinking, hey, we need somebody to animate, and we need some more 3D artists. And then we got two 3D artists, and then we also got animator. And it's just like, you think about it, and as the time goes, things just happen. It was kind of, it was cool. I cannot explain it. But at that time, it was a long procedure of gathering since we officially started at the end of 2014. So it was basically all friends, and we were working basically other than doing our normal jobs, we were working on Red Solstice, or we were going on college, and then in the spare time we would work on Red Solstice, and that's how it slowly just like started, and in the end ended up as like making a company. And then we went on Kickstarter and released the game successfully as an early access in 2014.
Cool. But it's nice when everything just, everybody gets together and okay, now we're a company.
Yeah, it just kind of happened like that. I cannot say otherwise. It just like I don't know. I was pushing for it, I guess. So it happened. All of the events gathered at the point where basically we reached success. And Kickstarter was something that really pushed us because like that was confirmation for us. Hey, we have the community to back us up. And after Kickstarter, 2 months after, or I don't know, was it 3? We released on Steam for a success. At that point, there was also a Steam evaluation, so we had problems first getting onto Steam. It was not open for everybody, so there was those points, if you remember, where people had to like rate your game in order that Steam would allow you, and then only the first 10 games or something from the list of top 100 would get into the ability to be released on the Steam. Today, you basically you just pay a fee, and then basically you can release on the Steam. They're much more open today.
Well, that's good for indie studios, definitely.
Yes, definitely.
Why did you call yourself Ironward?
In the absence of better name. Yeah, it's we always had problems with name. That's our basically history. Like whenever we have to name something, we have a big discussion. How would we name it? And then we came up with nothing. And then basically Ironwood was best out of the all worst choices. But it was like, hey, we are tough, we are iron, we can endure anything. Let's go with that.
That's great. I think it's a great name.
Thank you.
Can't be better. So you already told us a bit about how you started developing the Red Solstice, but maybe you can recap. How did you manage producing your first Solstice?
So basically, it was a lot of I imagined the game. That's how it started. And then I wrote a document of the game. And then we ended up finishing 10%. 10% of that document ended up in the game. We just started cutting out features, And that in the ended up as Red Solstice 1 because as someone who starts in indie studio or started developing an indie game and it's maybe new to that experience. I mean, I made some smaller games before, but we always had like bigger visions than the resources that we had. And then you just had to start cutting things down, basically. And we knew the core, and we always try not to cut that core and kept that feeling. But it was more of a development on the fly. We didn't have a proper, we had a GDD.
Hey, real quick, this is Eve. Just to clarify, since Hrvoje is talking about GDD, this is short for Game Design Document. It's a basic concept of the game and a guide for the development team. Now back to Sarah and Hrvoje.
We had a GDD, but we didn't follow it up to strictly. For Red Solstice 2, we followed it much more strictly than for Red Solstice 1, for example. And we knew much more exactly what we want to do for Red Solstice 2 than for Red Solstice 1 was maybe. Red Solstice 1 was maybe more like wild development. We could say, hey, let's do this, let's try this, and then but usually sometimes we decide and we spend time on something and then we decide, hey, that's bad, let's just cut it out.
You are now the CEO of Ironward. What exactly are your tasks? Are you also programming?
Basically, I do everything but programming at the moment because I wanted to distance myself from it because it was taking extremely a lot of time, and so I'm focusing on game design itself mostly, and just like coordinating the team on the tasks that they need to do, basically. So that's my primary job as a CEO.
Okay, and reading lots of emails, probably.
Yes, reading lots of emails, of course.
You do have a publisher now. You didn't have one at the beginning, right?
Yes, we didn't have a publisher, and then we partnered with Fire 5 for the release of Red Solstice 2.
Are you glad to have them?
Yes, they're awesome.
Is it easier with the publisher?
Yeah, it's definitely much easier. For example, I spent a lot of time before, maybe it's a time that really sums up. For example, for marketing, the game needs to have a marketing. And now I don't basically spend almost any time on marketing and can focus solely on the game, which is a significant improvement because it helps make the game better. I can focus on the gameplay, I can focus on delivering the better product, and basically we are much more focused on development, and the team is not basically on all sides. Like we have reduced the amount of tasks that we need to do, and that's extremely important to us, and that's why we're very happy to work with Fire 5.
Was it difficult to find a publisher?
Actually, it was not that difficult to find a publisher, but more that I mean, we have shown the Red Solstice to like many publishers, but we weren't happy with the deal. Basically, we could have really released the game without a publisher, but because we were in that position at that time, and that was good for us. So we wanted if we would sign a deal, we wanted that deal would be right for us as a team. But that was and for the vision for the game itself. It's always difficult to talk with publishers or basically you just. I mean, I think that if you find the right partner and then everything is easy, like and much easier, you know. But if you don't find the right partner, the negotiations and everything can get tiresome. And
Yeah, you both need to be on the same level, of course, yeah. Do you get any support from your local government in Croatia, or are there any funding programs?
This is currently something will happen or is started to happening in the past year or past 2 years, but it's very slow. The individual is a game developer. There's no support from the government.
Okay.
But usually you have to go to the Ministry of Culture or I don't know, Ministry of Economy, and then maybe you get something. But that's really weak at the moment. We are trying. Basically, I'm in the board of the Croatian Game Developers Association, and we are trying to push to give us some kind of basically trying to push for programs that would make indie development and help out studios or in the Croatia to get funding for their first games, basically. Anyway, they're talking about it a lot, but nothing too, how to say it, concrete or nothing too big is happening or happened so far. So it's just about like we're trying to push and with our results and with especially because game development is really like for the past few years it's a really good business, and so we are trying to show to them, hey, this is something that could be worth investing in. But yeah, I mean, even for the country and like for the amount of successful games in Croatia and the size of the country, we are in a really good spot. But yeah, it's a hard business talking to government, you know.
Yeah. Would you say that still Croatia is a good country for creating games?
Well, I think it's a great country for creating games, but that's only my opinion. I mean, it's not like you can, hey, I want to start a studio and you'll get immediate some support, but I would say it's cheaper to develop games maybe in Croatia
okay.
because of I mean I wouldn't say cheaper as in terms like they're bad or something. It's just that maybe we are willing to do more in some situations because the people who basically try to do game development, they are the ones that succeed. They really push hard for it, and basically that's how all the companies in Croatia have developed itself. Basically, they just had to get through some hardships in order to succeed and endure over time. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's easy. Yeah, definitely, I wouldn't say it's easy. And we are working to make it better for everybody in the future with talking to government and everything. But there are no direct support basically that hey, you're a developer, you will get a full support. Like they're really weak basically for the amount of money that is being spent on games. And if you want a quality game, you need to spend a certain amount of money.
But there's loads of motivation.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of motivation, and I think that a lot of people here are doing it just because they enjoy it and they love it, and
oh, that's cool.
It's not much about the money. It's about creating something basically that you can be proud of, like in something that it's like creative in the industry, So at least the people that I have talked to, they all enjoy working in the industry and they love it, and I just wished they had more resources and more support from both sides, basically.
Would you say the gaming industry is growing in Croatia?
Definitely. Yes, we're definitely growing,
Okay.
and a lot of studios have emerged in the past few years, and basically they might be smaller, but they're still working on noteworthy games, and basically things are happening like I mentioned, like you probably know Scum game that has been released recently. I mean, it's still in early access, but basically Crow Team, everybody knows about Crow Team, so I think things are happening. At least that's how the feeling is.
Okay, that's cool. Great. So, what's your goal? How many sold copies of the Red Solstice 2 would make you happy?
I don't know. The more, the better. Yeah, like I cannot say. Like I would be happy if every person on the planet bought the game and loved it and enjoyed it.
Also on Mars.
that would be something, but that's not realistic. Yeah, but yeah, it would be like for start, it would be nice to basically sell enough that we cover our costs, and then whatever. That's basically the more people enjoy it, the more happier I am, and basically cover all costs and earn money that we can basically develop a next game that would be something minimal that we would love, something that I want 10 million copies at least. That's something.
All right, that's your goal.
That's my goal.
Yeah, cool. Can you say how many sales you would need to have enough income?
Yeah, I cannot talk about that, so yeah.
All right. But 10 million copies, that's a cool goal.
That's a cool goal. That's always a cool goal.
Yeah, let's stay with that.
Let's stay with that.
Are you already having ideas for the next project?
No, always. We are always having ideas for next project. At one point, definitely Red Solstice 3.
Yeah.
Because we need to finish the story. You know, it's a trilogy. It has always been imagined as a trilogy.
Ah, I see. Okay.
But of course, each of the segment is basically individually. So I'm not saying that the players will end up on a cliffhanger or something. We wanted to basically isolate each of the setting. But yeah, we have another project like on a shelf that we could say that. But yeah, I wouldn't talk too much about it. It's just something that we were experimenting in or talking about that, and made something that we were thinking about before.
Okay, but you can't say more about it.
Yeah, I cannot say too much about it. It's it's nothing. It's nothing like Red Solstice. It's something entirely different.
Okay, so no strategy.
Well, there is always strategy. We love strategy games. So yeah.
All right. I can't wait to see what's next. But it's also good to know that there's a Red Solstice 3 coming. So that's a cool info.
At one point, maybe. That one, we'll see.
Mystery teaser here.
I mean, that's our wishes. That's our wishes.
Do you have any advice for indie developers wanting to start a business in Croatia? Like, what are the do's and don'ts?
Make a small game. Definitely. Make a small game. Like, the most important thing that I would definitely say for every developer ever, no matter where, if you are starting a company, make sure you first at least made a small game before starting a company, so you can see all the loop, like all the problems that are coming from idea to production to finishing the entire project, and then perhaps maybe shipping it for free or maybe putting it online for free just to see or maybe shipping it yourself on Steam just to see the procedure, the flow of all the segments of the development. Because I think that just by knowing or having that knowledge will help you a lot into overcoming all the problems that arrive with the company and with the additional bureaucracy that you have to do and that you maybe didn't think of, because at least you know how the pipeline of the development works. So if there is something that I would say that's most important, it's knowing the pipeline and having passed the entire production line at least once.
Okay. And what is the thing you should definitely not do as an indie developer wanting to start?
Make your own engine. Definitely don't make your own engine.
I should see that coming.
Yeah, that's the worst thing you could do today. Like before, maybe, but today, no.
Hrvoje, hope you get the 10 million copies you wanted.
And next time, you definitely have to talk to Hrvoje. You're Croatian, he's Croatian, you know?
Ja, može. A Hrvoje, tebi i tvojim sve najbolje I želim vam da ćete...
Pardon? Kann nicht verstaan. Ich verstehe nix.
Actually, since you just spoke a little bit of Dutch, a little bit of French, and a little German, I think I know which country we go to next.
Me too.